Hi lads, just going to explain to you about chalk and clay escarpments. Now there's two things that need to occur for chalk and clay escarpments to form. Firstly, you need to have alternating layers of chalk and clay. So here we've got a layer of chalk, a layer of clay, a layer of chalk, a layer of clay. And due to tectonic activity, they must be pushed up so that they are on an angle. Okay, so you can see that all the layers of the rocks here are all on a nice angle. Now we know that chalk is much more resistant to erosion than clay, and therefore the chalk is much stronger and higher above the surface, whereas the clay has been eroded to a lower level. And the different features that you need to know about is that this part here, the steeper part on the chalk here, is known as the scarp slope, which rhymes with sharp, so hopefully you can remember the scarp slope. And this side is known as the dip slope. As you can see in between where it's been eroded the clay, that is known as a clay veil. Now what happens is that any water that falls will infiltrate and soak through the chalk, because of course chalk is permeable and porous, until it meets the impermeable clay below. And what happens is that you might end up with a spring line occurring in this area here where the water has accumulated. Now the clay veil, is very impermeable. It means that on the clay veil you will have lots of surface streams, whereas on the chalk area you'll have very few surface streams. You'll also see down the dip slope here on the chalk that you will end up with dry V-shaped valleys. Now they're dry V-shaped valleys because of course if any water fell on the chalk area nowadays, it would immediately infiltrate into that chalk, and so you would end up with no water in it, which is why it's referred to as a dry V-shaped valley. However, there must have been a time when water did flow down it, and it's thought that perhaps at the end of the last ice age, when there was a huge amount of meltwater from the glaciers, they would have flowed down these chalk veils and eroded V-shaped valleys. Of course, now all that water has disappeared and you are left with the remnants of the V-shaped valley. If water does ever flow in it, it's sometimes referred to as a bourne, and that's where the terms Bournemouth and Bourne End get their names from. But essentially, that is chalk escarpments. You need to remember the key terms scarp slope, dip slope, clay veil. You need to know about dry V-shaped valleys. You must remember its alternating layers of chalk and clay, and also that tectonic activity has moved them onto an angle for them to have formed. And that's chalk and clay in 2 minutes 56.